talk, where we are at and where we are going. After a storm,
SJLRC football tournament launch.
Light follows. Where there is evil, good overcometh. It's Conscious Talk with Steve Antoine. Every Thursday from 10:25 a.m. to 10:55 a.m. It's Conscious Talk. Conscious Talk.
A pleasant morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege once again for me to be in your presence, in your homes, in your cars as you traverse today. I want to say today that we have to thank God. Thank God for life. Thank God knowing that we are in the land of the living. Thank God knowing we are in a country that we doesn't wake up to tornadoes and earthquakes that destroy houses and homes. Thank God that we are resilient people, that when certain things happen we can forgive and forget and move on and not hold any negative in our hearts towards one another. Although there are times when we would need to respond to certain situations. This morning, ladies and gentlemen, in opening this program, I wish to state that today would be my last program on air today, for the mere fact that Monday would be Emancipation, and you all would know the reason for me coming on this program or coming out in the limelight is because of Emancipation. So I'll go back in the pavilion and sit and look on until the required or requisite time when I will come again. In starting this morning, I have a very tight program. I wish to ask the director if he could play the first video. And this video is because of the fact I came last week and spoke about a situation in the essential market. So, director, you could play the video of the complainants themselves.
The prince. Because that one other little thing, so I put it in the shop down, so people come in, they can't touch that one, they can't touch that one, come and pay to them back outside. Keep them here wet.
Yeah, sure.
But how you mean? So you can be gas stamp. Shocking.
So this exhaust never work?
You know what I say? Never, ever work.
And nobody never came back.
Tom did blaming Dick blaming Harry. I know you. Excuse. You see here? Here? Not in. You see here? This is.
Oh, it's shocking.
But of course.
Oh, because this is metal.
This ain't shocking. You see this? With your hand wet.
And only touch there. And you make because nobody never checked.
Well, how you mean?
What is your name again, miss?
Oh God.
Yes, baby, afraid. I just wish to highlight the part when I asked the ladies, they heard the response. And this is what we have in this country. Because of the fact sometimes when you speak out, you tend to be victimized because you're not supposed to say certain things. I will ask the director to play some other clips which I put forward with the Emancipation Park, the Mandela sign, what have you. Look at the condition of this sign, ladies and gentlemen. I've been highlighting this for the longest time. And I on another place I indicated that I realized there's a Mandela's Day. And I think some kind of attention should be at least paid to this sign to restore it. And more so taking into consideration, we just had Mandela's Day. I don't know if it's the same people who's supposed to say about the sign or the corporation. So as we move forward, director, you could keep playing the little highlights that I put to highlight certain issues as I move forward. Another thing is, I'm wondering still, ladies and gentlemen, is it the Nelson Mandela Park or the King George V Park? You could go ahead again, director. I wish to be I know it's a tight program this morning, so I wish to just highlight these things which I came out and spoke about. This other thing to me, now we hear a gentleman, there's a little clip now with the Google of Pan. And there and then I realize we are not a proactive society. We are more reactive than proactive. Now we are hearing all sorts of things. That Pan wasn't proclaimed in the parliament and what have you. How could the Pan be proclaimed as a national instrument when we have things like this existing on the outside? Ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. This is 20 plus years. Look at the condition of this said structure. This said structure. And I indicated in the past that I believe a panorama could be held on this spot. Clean up this spot. This is just on when you traverse on the left-hand side in Twin City. From by Bagwansin, you could block off there. Lower down, you block off by lower down. And it could happen. I wouldn't go into much detail because I have a lot to say and a little time to see what I have to say. You could go on director with the other. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Emancipation Support Office. This is, well, I thought it was a building in the past. But when I got up and I did my little investigation, I realized this is it. Over the years, ladies and gentlemen, this building, this is a house. This is a house close to another house. And it's only 2 cars could be parked at any given point in time. Director, I think they have another one which would illustrate the car park, so they will have an idea what I'm speaking about. The one close to it, yes. Right, this video, ladies. Go ahead with this video. Ladies and gentlemen, I did this video walking. It took me less than 3 minutes walking in terms of the space for this place. Look at this place, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I'm trying to highlight consciously. Only 2 cars could park in this place. And ladies and gentlemen, I do not want to call anybody's place again, as I promised myself. There is a place, when you're going down to Chaguaramas, the entire beachfront, it took me over 5 minutes to traverse this entire space and look over how much years, 20 plus years, how much years. This is what the emancipation has been afforded over the years, and I'm told it is a government-owned building. Yes, the government do not sell the lease, but I think the time has come, ladies and gentlemen, especially now, 60 years of independence. Why the Emancipation Support Committee, which incorporates the entire Trinidad and Tobago, African, Indian, wherever the case may be. So, commerce could be had on this building over, during the year. Now we go in and see how much things supposed to be done within this day, Emancipation Day, where we will be speaking on a lot of different things. So my thing is, we're supposed to, by now, have a space. I wish to share another clipping. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the launch of the San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation Tournament launch. So I wish to share this with you all this morning.
SJLRC Football Tournament launch.
Fire, give me reason, take me higher. See the champions, take the field now. Unify us, make us feel proud. In the streets, our heads are lifting as we lose our inhibition. Celebration, it surrounds us. Every nation, all around us, singing forever young, singing songs underneath the sun. Let's rejoice in the beautiful game, and together at the end of the day, we are...
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was the launch of the San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation Tournament launch. Well, we saw who scored the goal in this clip, ladies and gentlemen. You saw the Minister, Adrian Leons, my MP, and you also saw my councillor, the goal scorer, Mr. Antoine. So, ladies and gentlemen, we want to say, and I want to say a minute on the young men in my community. I wish for you gentlemen to show a level of respect while this tournament is being run. I'll say that this morning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I move on, I wish to this morning go in a little direction, which I spent a little time. As I said, I realized the program is tight this morning, but I wish to share something. So I wish to share this voice note this morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Democracy means more, much more than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means recognition of the rights of others. Democracy means the equality of all in the eyes of the law. Democracy means equality of opportunity for all in education, in the public service, and in private employment. I repeat, and in private employment. Democracy means the protection of the weak against the strong. Democracy means the obligation. citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights. Democracy means freedom of worship for all and the subordination of the rights of any one race to the overriding right of the human race. Democracy means freedom of expression and assembly and organization. All that is democracy.
Ladies and
I call
gentlemen,
upon all citizens to dedicate themselves on this our Independence Day.
At the time.
yes, ladies and gentlemen, democracy. I wouldn't go into much details. I let the message speak for itself, and I want to say the message and not the messenger. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to engage the director. I normally say the director or Mr. Google. I wish to engage him and ask him kindly. You see, I wish to make a statement. You see, in life, sometimes you let things slide, but then there are times when you have to say something to put yourself in alignment so that you wouldn't be misconstrued. Last week, I realized I was brought before the court, constructively so. I was penalized. I was found guilty in the court. And more so, in the program I had last week, which was Thursday, July the 21st, at the end of the program, and this is in no way to make no Bacchanal, Lackery, and Kankatang Trinidad style. I don't mean that. I wish to highlight a situation just to let people be aware that it's not fair at times. Anyway, last week, when I came in, Mr. Kyle was in here, Mr. Google alone was here, yes. But I want to get straight to the point. At the end of the program, I felt disrespected when he took off the mic, and there was a saying, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And after taking off the mic, he said, close off. I felt disrespected, but what I want to say this morning, so that we wouldn't have no to-in and fro-in, Mr. Google, all I would say, so I think you have heard. Because nobody knows what you go through on a daily basis to get here. Yeah? And I do want to make it an issue where we would have to-in and fro-in. I just say I will highlight that. And there is more I wish to highlight. But in fairness to you, and me being respectful to you, sir, because without you, I cannot do my program. You are the ones at the control. I do not understand the control, and you have afforded me your time, sir, so that I could do my program. Now, if you choose to, you could jump in at any time. Now, you indicated last week, in other words, I did a program where I would share certain things, but I wouldn't do that because, you know, when you do certain things, as I said, it ends up being in to-in and fro-in, and I don't think I want that. I just want a level of understanding so that in moving forward, we would know that sometimes when a person is under stress, I could say that, we do not know what they are going through. First, what I would like to do is to forward something to Mr. Kyle, and he will forward it to Mr. Google, and I'll ask Mr. Google to put it on screen, please. So, Mr. Kyle, I think I just sent something for you. If you get it, could you kindly just put it on screen for me, if you don't mind, Mr. Google? You got it, Kyle? Yes. Right. Now, in my discourse last week, I spoke about certain things, and I definitely, right. Let me read this. Or Google, you want to read it? Okay, right. So, ladies and gentlemen, an oxymoron tends to have deeper meanings and be more memorable than non-contradictory words. So they work great at key points in your writing for boosting reader engagements. They also occasionally work well with figurative language to compound the power behind certain words. Yes, Mr. Google indicated that what I use is it's an oxymoron, and anyway. So I would like you, sir, to scroll so that I can see, ladies and gentlemen, how do you use oxymorons? An oxymoron is a figure of speech where two words of opposed or contradictory meaning are used together to create emphasis. While some oxymorons are created by accident, such as small crowd, sometimes they are used deliberately to draw attention to something or to create drama for the reader or listener. And that is what I did. I don't think I did anything wrong. And as I said, I think I was brought over the coals, and I have a lot of clips that I could put forward, but I don't think I want to do that to create any kind of negatives. And I would ask that, ladies and gentlemen, that what I'm saying here is not in no way to try and make any negative with anyone. Hence the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, I came this morning and I said, look, you know what? Let me just highlight it. And as I said, I don't know what's the situation. And let me just say, I will say this.
Or response. If you react, you become somebody's slave. I must tell you this. On a certain day, a yogi was coming this way, coming to Joe Rogan's show. On the way, somebody stopped him on the street and abused him in every possible way. He listened to everything carefully. Then he looked at the time and he said, see, I have a show, I need to go. I'll finish that and come back. If you have something more to say, you can tell me then. Why he is like this is, he's decided that he is the master of his destiny. No matter who does what, he will go where he wants to go. If your reaction, you'll go their way. Yes. Somebody will take you their way, somebody will take you this way, somebody will take you that way. Such a person will ever achieve anything that they wish to in their life. It's the only thing. Reaction or response. If you react, you become somebody's slave. I must tell you this. On a certain day, a yogi was coming this way.
Ladies and gentlemen, I only share that to say that there are times when you just have to listen and let, but I just say, let me highlight that situation, because in talk radio now, I would say it's visual radio, and anybody could go back and look at Thursday, July the 21st, and see what was there. That's the only reason why I highlighted this morning, because there are a lot more situations. Even before I came to this station, I wanted to highlight my views, and I asked somebody for the number of the person who carries on constructive talk, and they gave me the number, and I contacted the said gentleman, and the response wasn't all that good, and I sent a message. Yes, I sent a message to the gentleman, and the gentleman didn't respond to me. And that message was sent, ladies and gentlemen, that message was sent since in December. And you know when that message was looked at? The very said day I came on this program. Truth, I don't lie. That message was sent since in December. And that message was only shown the very said day. How I know when you see a message, it get blue. It got blue, and months after, when I appear on this show alongside the said gentleman, I am saying, I don't know what is happening to some of us. I am not here again to ridicule or chastise, but I just want to say, full respect to the gentleman, I am the person who have to listen or move by rules and regulations when I come here. So my intention is that I hope things would be better when I do come back in the future, by God's grace. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, my main reason for coming here this morning is this. Ladies and gentlemen, my main reason for coming here this morning is to share some information to you this morning. Let me see if I could get it.
You say
yes,
that aging is a mistake.
Well, you know, when I was researching this book, I found that we have some real misconceptions about the aging process. For example, almost everybody believes that aging is fatal, but you look at the data and you find nobody really dies of old age. They die of diseases that accompany old age, which are largely preventable. Everybody believes that aging is irreversible. Now, that's also a misconception, because if you remove toxins from your body, if you learn to get the stress out of your life through meditation, if you change your environment, and if you undergo certain procedures like increase antioxidants in your diet, you can actually reverse the biological markers of aging, like your hormone levels will reverse. There's a sex steroid called dehydroepiandrosterone sulfate, and DHEA for short. And as people grow old, this sex steroid, it goes down, but you can actually reverse it through these procedures. You can change the blood pressure, you can improve your hearing, you can improve your eyesight. In short, all the things that we think go with the aging process are reversible. Most people think aging is normal, but what's normal? Perhaps we're confusing the normal with the psychopathology of the average, which is dull and uninteresting. I mean, there are people who are 25 and look 40 and behave like 40. There are people who are 60 and behave and have the biology of a person who's 30.
And what we say is that was just they had good genes.
No, but that's another misconception. We think that aging has a genetic component, and yet that's only a very partially true statement. If your parents lived up to be more than 80 years, it adds only 3 years to your life. But you can do things with your stress in the life, with the toxins in your environment, with your food, with your lifestyle, that can add 30 to 50 years, much more time to your life, and not only life to your years, but years to your life, both the quality and the quantity, and that you override the genes. Most people think aging is universal, but there are organisms in this world that never age.
Like
microorganisms, like protozoa, like certain other species like the hydra. They keep up their metabolism in such a way that their catabolism...
No, but they're not human beings.
But listen, they're part of nature. What it means is that in nature there are mechanisms, and we have a biological clock that can respond to mechanisms. We are the only species, as we said earlier, who's aware of this, so we can change it.
Right, because we're the only species that knows we're aging when we're aging.
That's right, and to know that, you have a feedback loop of information. You can use that to influence the whole process.
Right, that's why people say you're only old as you think, because it's that whole 40 thing.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be 40 and people are already asking me, how are you going to feel?
Right, exactly. And when in fact, now science tells us that our biological potential is at least, and I don't even buy that, I think it's much more, but current prevailing scientific wisdom says our biological potential is 130 years, which means till you're 70, you don't even begin middle age. This is the best time of your youth.
You say...
Ladies and gentlemen, why I share this clip this morning, and I'll try to be as quick as possible. The children are home from school, ladies and gentlemen, listening to the radio this morning. They said station, and the amount of money. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a practitioner in any way. I'm not a herbalist. I just wish to share a few things with the public, which I do, which I grew up in, because I grew up in a poor home and I know bush, as I say, is bush. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't take no form of medication. None, not a tablet, nothing. I do not take any form of medication, and I wish to share this morning. If the men could get a pen, I wish to share certain things. First of all, lime is in season. The seed of the lime, ladies and gentlemen, is a medication. The lime seed. If you have children who have worms, you know, children sleeping and hear them grinding the teeth, that is a sign they have worms. When they sleep and they have their anus tucked up in the air, worms. The lime seed, ladies and gentlemen, you dry the lime seed, you patch it like a coffee. It's bitter like gall, yes. 100% for worms. Secondly, there's a bush called DTP, that's for the eyes. Trust me. You use the DTP, you put that in your eye, and in the morning, how you use the DTP, you draw it. When you draw it, it's cool, and you leave it in the dew overnight, and you wash your eye before you go to bed. You just lie down, and in the morning, trust me, your eye wouldn't be able to open because the amount of coal in your eye. And thirdly, for the men, I wish the men could get a paper as I give this, and this is what I do over the years. There is something called aloes, ladies and gentlemen. You take the aloes, you scrape the aloes, the gel of the aloes. You get an egg, you break the top of the egg, you just roll the white of the egg into the aloes, and then you add about a shot glass of apple cider vinegar. You get about 4 pegs of garlic. You grind it up, with a stone or whatever have you, and you grind it up. And then you take a fork and you beat that. While you're beating it, it will become frothy, and then you swallow that. And I'm not saying, as I said, I'm not a medical practitioner. That is what I do, and that is only to be done early in the morning, around 5, 6, before the sun comes up. Before the sun comes up, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the clip prior. You can listen to the clip and then listen to this, and you will understand. You swallow it. And it would be wise for some men to sit down, because when that thing grab your stomach and grab your navel, it would be a very uncomfortable feeling. However, you need to have at hand, we know they sell the 2-liter bottle of coconut water. You can have that at hand, so you're drinking that for the entire day to flush out. Don't let the coconut water be cold. Or tap water, not cold. You have tap, you drink water for the entire day. Forget whatever you're eating. Ladies, I'm just saying this, what I do. Everybody's metabolism is different. But when I hear the amount of thousands and monies people spending for health, and these are things what we grew up on. And I heard the director, Mr. Google, spoke about a lady, Miss Dolly. I am sure if Miss Dolly is listening, she could say, yes, Pastor Google, he's right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I don't take at, and glory be to my God. Nobody knows what is lurking in their bodies. So I just shall share that. That's what I mainly come here for. Because, and I'm not trying to take the people who are doing their work and selling their products out of business. I just say I think I should share this because it works. It works. It works. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I just wish to share some voice notes which I put together in closing. So I'll start with this one. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, just in closing, I would just like to close with some voice notes so that you'll have an idea
jealous of what God does for somebody else. What God has for you is for you, and He is never going to deliver your meal to somebody else's house. Conscious Talk, Conscious Talk, talk. Sometimes the smallest steps in the right direction ends up being the biggest steps of your life. Tiptoe if you must, but take the steps anyway. Conscious Talk, Conscious Talk, talk. Tune in to Gaia Television, channel 107, every Saturday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the program Conscious Talk, Conscious Talk, where we are at and where we are going with Steve Antoine. A journey begins with a single step, but if you walk in fear, the journey becomes much longer. Be honest, be brave. Every Saturday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. we'll be streaming live on Facebook.com/Gaia the Caribbean, also TigoStream.com/Gaia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Conscious Talk.
Broadcasting from Trinidad to the world, the Street919FM.com. The Street91FM. Real.
I want the truth.
Straight.
You can't handle the truth.
And fair.
I seek righteousness.
The official station that defends the nation. The Street91FM.
Conscious Talk, where we are at and where we are going. We cannot redo injustice, but we can move on and achieve in anticipation if there may be changes to what we have been wronged about. It's Conscious Talk.
The views expressed are not necessarily the views of the management of the Street 919 FM.